Hello and a warm welcome. In this video, I'm going to be talking about men's luxury shoes, and in particular the ones from the shoemakers as opposed to the high fashion brands. I'll also be talking about some of the terminology you need to be aware of in order to make an informed buying decision. I'll end with some of my top ready-to-wear recommendations. I'm Anesu Sagonda, and I manage a luxury lifestyle management business in London. My content is educationally focused and geared towards viewers who are either new to money or keen to explore alternate mid-lux or super brands, a little low-key but still weighted on quality. I started my working career in investment banking and on the trading floor, a large area that resembled a pit with a sea of bodies and the majority of them being men. And what I noticed very quickly once I started working was how well dressed they were. But it was almost as if there was a template format as how to look. And it was a little understandable. It was the industry, it was the country, but it was also client facing. So it meant clients came onto the floor or we had to go and see clients. So you always had to look ready. But what I noticed was that the men typically wore the dress shirts, the smart suit pants, the solid British style shoes, and the obligatory luxury timepiece. And regardless of the level of anyone on the trading floor, they always dressed within their means. And yes, salaries were way above the average. They still made the most of their circumstances. And then a real eye-opening moment occurred. There was a seating reshuffle and I was placed next to one of the senior ranking managing directors. And it was someone I never really noticed, but we're sitting next to each other, so I got to see him pretty much every day. And this particular gentleman was he was painfully self-deprecating. And he was short, he was rotund, and he would always talk about this. And it was his insecurity, but what he did is he turned the situation around and maximized with what he had. And he showed me a level of grooming and dress sense that I had never seen before. He was always immaculately turned out. His hair was coiffed into perfection. His skin was blemish-free. It was smooth. His beard was well trimmed. And his suits and his shoes were just phenomenal. They were on a different level. They were tailored. His suits were very well tailored. The material, the feel of them, the texture, the particular cut and how it worked with him, it all looked amazing. And then his shoes, I had never seen shoes like this. I saw shoes on the trading floor, but his were just on another level. But I couldn't quite put my finger or explain what the difference was. And then fast forward to now, in my current role in lifestyle management, where people come to me, and particularly in the corporate space that I've really focused in on, and they want to know how to make a presence in the office. They're typically senior people, and they want to make that all-important first impression. We live in a world where first impressions are very important, and more so now. And what I've done is taken myself back to that time with the MD and remembered what I saw of him, and that is something that I use as my benchmark when I make recommendations. And although I'm a lady and you wouldn't expect me to know about men's suits and shoes from personal experience, I do work with great stylists. I talk directly to the brands and also feedback from clients, so I have a good idea of what works, what doesn't work, what's up and coming, and so forth. My starting point when anyone approaches me, and in particular when it comes to corporate wear, is you need really good basics. I mean, this is stuff that everybody knows. So very good shoes and very good suit. And then everything else naturally follows on from there. So your shirt, the tie, socks, the timepiece. In this video, as I mentioned, I'm going to be focusing just on shoes. I'll do something another time on suits and then potentially on any other subject that may be of interest. Do let me know in the comments. So shoes, where do you buy the shoes? It's either going to be ready to wear. They're either going to come as ready to wear, made to measure, or bespoke. And as you go up each level, so does the price, the quality of the fabric, the construction, the aesthetic of the shoe, and the comfort of it. Ready to wear, you are walking into a store. What they have is what you buy. Any modifications you'd like made on that shoe, you are responsible for them. So whether it's buying an instep or an additional insole for added padding, that's up to you and not something the brand would necessarily do for you. Made to measure is where the brand would slightly modify the shoe. So whether you need a bit more space for your toes, they'd add a little more leeway. That's something that would come with made to measure. Very slight modifications, maybe even change the color. And then bespoke, they would actually make the shoe entirely for you. So every aspect, you decide what you like, where and how. How is the shoe made? They work off a mechanical form which is shaped into a human foot, and that is a template that they work through. In particular, the ready-to-wear, the made-to-measure shoes, it's a standard template, and they use that to sculpt the shoe, and then would slightly modify it if you did request additional room or you change the color. They would then make allowances for that. But bespoke, that mechanical form, which is called a last, they would create that based entirely on your foot. So it would pick up on all the nuances. So whether you had crooked toes or a bunion, it would allow for that. It would have that in the last. So every pair of shoes that would be made for you would be very specific for you as they are molded to your foot. And that makes a difference, a very big difference when it comes to the comfort as well. How is the shoe made? There are three main types of shoe construction. And then there are a couple of others which are more niche, specific to countries. But the three I'm going to touch on, there is the cemented, glued, or bonded. Essentially the top part, which is the upper, the leather that comes in contact with your foot, the insole, and then the sole at the bottom, the outsole. That is all just glued together. That tends to be shoes that are very disposable, your trainers, lighter shoes, shoes that you can't repair. So once they're done, you chuck them out because there isn't that option to be able to re-sole the shoe. And then the next stage is the Blake stitch, which is the most common but also the easiest way to manufacture shoes. So that upper, the insole, and then the outsole, there's one stitch that pretty much runs through the entire shoe. It's cheaper to make, it's less labor intensive, and the shoes are significantly cheaper, except when it comes to the high fashion brands. And then the third method, which is the one that I'm very much focused on. So when I recommend shoes to people, it would only be shoes that are Goodyear welted. And Goodyear welting it's incredibly labor intensive, it's expensive, it takes a lot of time, and it takes craft to be able to put together a pair of shoes very well. And how it's done is the upper, the insole, and the outsole. What they would do is they would have a leather perimeter outside the outsole, and that leather perimeter would be sewn onto the upper, and it's also sewn onto the outsole. So the top part, the upper and the outsole, are not actually joined. They are joined through that outer perimeter, and that is what the Goodyear welting is. And that helps when you are able to, it helps with resoling. You're able to remove the outsole and then reattach the new sole. And it really helps with the longevity, because the quality of the products that are used on top, the fabric, for example, it means if you look after your material, the shoe itself, when it comes to being resold, it's not as often. The quality of the sole is very good, but it also extends the longevity. This particular method extends the longevity of your shoes. And as somebody who's very big on quality, it's in keeping with my whole ethos about buy better, buy less. The better quality the product is, the longer it lasts, the less you have to replace it. The initial cost is a lot, but the cost per wear comes down the longer you wear it. And these shoes will typically last you 10 to 15 years, provided, even a lifetime, provided you look after them. And hence I've gone for the shoemaker brands. They are made from artisans who are typically shoemakers for life. It's not a craft that people pick up in later life. They are artisans from the get-go. They learn the craft, they perfect in it, they're proud, and they make very good quality shoes. And that's reflected in the construction and in turn the price. And then compare that to the fashion brands, who are typically companies with a lot of money. They read the market, they know what to provide. And there's not as much, if at all, any investment in the quality of the shoe. It's something that's produced, it fills a need, and the longevity typically is not that high. The costs are very high, but I'm a big fan of buy better quality shoes and they will last you a lifetime. And that is also reflected in my recommendations. Ready-to-wear brands I would recommend. I will start with the cheapest and go up in price as well as quality. A Spanish brand, Miamin, they are a very good introduction to luxury shoes. They are decently priced for what you're getting. The only negative feedback I get is that their shoes are a little difficult to break in. I'd also recommend another Spanish brand, Carmina. I particularly like Carmina personally because they also do very good women's bespoke shoes. They are head and shoulders above the competition when it comes to women's shoes. But on the men's side, they have a very diverse selection and they cater for all ranges of foot shapes and sizes. And in particular, their leather and suede quality is phenomenal. I'd also bring in another Spanish brand, but it's actually a Swedish brand, Love and Tongue, and the shoes are produced in Spain. It's an excellent product for great price. Get that on your radar. And then I'll move on to the British brands, and in order, I would kick off with Loke. Loke is a great British brand, British style, very conservative, but the quality is phenomenal for the price that you're going to pay. I would also move on to Joseph Cheney. Joseph Cheney is competitively priced, another good brand I'd highly recommend. And the top one out of the British ones, I would say, is Crockett & Jones. They have a very diverse selection of shoes, and in particular, their classic line is phenomenal, and it's very, very well priced for what you're getting. And then moving on to another one, Carlos Santos. Beautiful shoes created in Portugal. And what I like about them is that they have found a way to bring down their cost. Their soles are open channel soles, so they haven't covered the soles. So they've cut down on production costs without actually compromising on the quality of the shoe. So that's Carlos Santos. I would then move on to an Italian brand that is the best value for your money when it comes to ready to wear. It is Enzo Bonaffi. It is an Italian brand. It is a brand that is run by a family. They started it, I think, in 1963, a gentleman called Enzo Bonaffi, and he is in his 80s, and he's actually still in the workshop creating shoes with his wife and the rest of his family. And his shoes are classic with an Italian flair, very, very well priced for what you're getting, and I would highly, highly recommend at least a pair of those in your collection. And I'd like to end with my top recommendation, without hesitation, and if I was a man, this would actually be the brand that I would wear. It's Graziano and Girling. It's a brand that's located on Savile Row. The quality is phenomenal. They're very well known for their made-to-measure and for their bespoke. And recently, in the last few months, they've introduced ready-to-wear. And it's called the Classic Range. They have 5 styles of shoes, and it's almost as if it's a starter pack for anybody who would like to elevate their wardrobe or would like an initiation into the world of luxury shoes. The quality is second to none, and I'm actually going to do a second video on these shoes. But they are my top recommendation, and they are a brand any discerning shoe wearer needs to have in their collection. I've enjoyed putting this together. I like men's shoes. They are incredible things, and I like how they bring an outfit together. You can wear a really good suit, but with bad shoes, you've totally killed the whole look. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you think of the selection? Do you have any of the shoes? Is there something else you'd like me to feature? But stay tuned for the next edition of Made to Measure and then Bespoke. Thank you for watching, and take care.